Highway hypnosis, also known as white line fever, is a mental state when drivers who have been on the road for long periods of time zone out but still have the information needed to drive safely.
One old scraggly hat, but on the way home he crossed the path of a great big grizzly bear. Well, the bear got down, looked ready to charge. The preacher never seen nothing quite that large. They looked at each other right smack in the eye. Didn't take that preacher long to say bye. The preacher, he run till he spotted a tree. Said, up in that tree where I ought to be.
This isn't necessarily the same as fatigue driving, but it could still be a potential hazard.
Scared to death, he turned about. He looked to the sky and began to shout, hey Lord, you delivered Daniel from the bottom of the lion's den. You delivered Jonah from the belly of the whale, and then the Hebrew children from the fire.
The condition gets its name from the driver losing awareness by staring at the marked lines on the highway.
For goodness sake, don't help that bear. Yeah! Look out, preacher! Well, about that time the limb broke off and the preacher come a-tumbling down. Had a straight razor out of his pocket. About the time he lit on the ground, he landed on his feet right in front of that bear, and Lord, what an awful fight. The preacher and the bear and the razor and the hair just a-flying from left to right. Well, now first there's up and then there's down. The preacher and the bear running round and round. The bear he roared and the preacher he groaned, having a tough time holding his own. Said, Lord, if I get out here alive, bet to the good book I'll abide. No more hunting on the Sabbath day. Come Sunday I'm heading to church to pray. Up to the heavens the preacher glanced, said, Lord, won't you give me just one more chance? So the preacher got away. He looked around, seen a tree where he'd be safe and sound. Jumped on a limb, turned about.
One would think this wouldn't happen off the highway, but one engine would feel a similar effect.
From the bottom of the lion's den, you delivered Jonah.
One morning, Josiah dropped off his tree and joined Nicholas.
From the fiery furnace, so the good books do declare.
Hey, did you do another of those fuel runs from North Dakota?
Not this time, though it is one of my favorite jobs because Minnesota is a great state. Also, Great Northern SD45 number 400 got its new engine installed after its crankshaft failed 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, it's amazing what they can do for those old engines. I like how a lot of vintage locomotives like steam engines and first, second gen diesels are still operating for museums, and even a few on select class 1s.
It sure is. Say, where's Mr. Edwards?
He's in his office working on inventory and other reports. He took a few minutes to call his family and a friend from Mount Lebanon, and looked at the news on the computer, but otherwise he's focused. Now, I'm not into European trains as American trains, but do you prefer the ICE-1, the ICE-2, or the ICE-3 consists?
I don't know a whole lot about them, but I guess the ICE-1? I heard they might expand the ICE service into London someday.
I heard. And who could forget when Germany loaned some ICE train sets and when Sweden loaned some X2000 train sets to Amtrak to test before the Acela came in?
I remember seeing those on the Northeast Corridor, along with the E60s, the Phase 3 AEM7s, and the Metroliners. Good times. Well, I'm going to the roundhouse to rest. Good talking to you, Gordon.
You as well, Edward. Later, Josiah left Rutherford, Pennsylvania 10 minutes ahead of schedule with Intermodal Train 203 bound for Atlanta, Georgia. All the way to the Carolina border, he had to listen to the trailing engines talking about sports, TV shows, weather, deer hunting, geology, and other topics.
It's late and we're not even close to Inman yet.
I know we'll keep you alert.
Oh no.
Remember when the New England Patriots creamed the Los Angeles Rams in Super Bowl 53? The Patriots won a lot of Super Bowls, but I liked them a lot, including Tom Brady, the quarterback. Their wide receivers are Darren Andrews, Braxton Berrios, Julian Edelman, Matthew Slater. Then we got the offensive linemen. Also, the Los Angeles Rams used to be the St. Louis Rams, but then they moved. What about basketball or baseball? I love the Braves and Chicago Cubs the most. Fun fact, Morgan Freeman's a great actor. You gotta hear his voice. Anyone seen George W. Bush's funeral train on the news this December? He was a great man, and he even served in the Navy during World War II. We're in South Carolina now. Harris Island is where they filmed Full Metal Jacket. The guy who played Gunnery Sergeant Parner has also played Sergeant Toy Story. He was even in the Army himself. Too bad Ronald E. Lee Emery died last year. It was a close call. I never lived it down if I hit that kid. There were earbuds all across the tracks. Now I'm lighting up the chat. I watched Guess Who's Coming to Dinner again last night.
Alright, enough. You alright, Josiah? Tell me you didn't fall asleep. Josiah? You fool! You put him to sleep with your nonsense.
Sorry, I was trying to keep him engaged.
We're still able to work his throttle and the dynamic brakes. If he were fully asleep, those controls would be locked.
Huh?
Dude, are you okay?
Yeah, I must have zoned out.
At 11 a.m. the next morning, they arrived in Atlanta.
We're at Inman Yard, right?
Yeah, how you missed that? They filmed Dukes of Hazzard and Smoking the Bandit in Georgia. Two good franchises involving sweet muscle cars.
I know I've been here a lot before, but when on the rails for a long time, I just don't think much about it.
Well, what have we here? Sounds like Josiah experienced a track fever.
What's that?
It's similar to the white line fever some drivers experience, by postulating that you stared at the tracks beneath you and lost focus from there.
Maybe. I don't know.
Because it had to happen to me too back in 1992. I was taking a late night manifest to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I was exhausted and the SD-40 behind me was being a ratchet jaw.
2 weeks ago, while switching in Asheville, my engineer talked about owning an Italian Carsano. It's the same one Lee Harvey Oswald used to shoot JFK, minus the scope. It's chambered for 6.5 ammunition rounds.
I couldn't listen to all that nonsense. I began to zone out, and my sights went just below my pilot, seeing the railroad ties pass by. The yellow signal popped up, which snapped me out of it. After work, I took a long nap and a few spins on her table.
Should we do that with Josiah?
It'll probably just make him feel giddy. Well, I can't talk to you losers all day. I'm taking 322 to Chattanooga soon. And no, I will not say hi to scrubby steam engines or other TBRM locomotives for you.
Sometimes I just don't know how to stand him.
As usual, that engine continued blabbering to every locomotive he encountered.
Hey Caleb, Mindy, Sean! Are you three doing any night runs? Cause if you are, make sure you stay focused. You don't want to end up in the wreck like what could happen with Josiah.
Josiah got track fever?
Oh, that poor thing.
That's not good.
It's a miracle that Josiah made it in one piece.
Alright, have a good day, you three.
You too?
Keep awake and alert. Don't be like Josiah with track fever.
Whoa, that sounds serious.
Hey Josiah, suffered track fever. Did you hear? He had no recollection of how to get to Atlanta.
Oh my goodness, that's top story of today.
I love those styles. I wonder how real can see that Amtrak engineer, Big Mo, go by here.
Stop telling stories or you're fired!
2 days after, Josiah left the Dixie and was back north.
Hey, Josiah, can you tell me about your track fever?
Not now. I'm trying to sleep.
Alrighty, I'll see you later.
So an annoying Dash 9 told me that Josiah suffered rail hypnosis, which is rail equivalent of highway hypnosis.
Really? Yeah, rail accidents are more dangerous than road accidents, though they happen less often. At least highways have rumble strips to keep drowsy motorists from running off the road. The Dash 9 thinks the effects lingered.
That isn't natural. The after effects reminds me of kids after staring at their phones or other electronic devices for periods of time, though it's a totally different scenario.
After Sean delivered his train to Conway that afternoon and Lily pulled in with the Richmond Limited, they both found Josiah in the roundhouse.
Did it take you long to recover, Josiah?
You're crazy. I recovered right after it happened, but for some reason that chatterbox doesn't think so.
Oh yeah, he's the one who told us.
It was a normal journey before I started dozing off. He decided to keep me awake by talking his usual gibberish, which only alleviated my actual focus. It diverted my attention to the tracks and gave me track fever. I'm just glad that other train woke me, because there could have been an accident waiting to happen otherwise. But that engine thought it was funny and decided to tell everyone. I kid you not.
Some engines really don't know when to shut up, but let's face it, that can totally be me too.
So the effects wore pretty quick?
Of course they did. It's not a disease that takes over 24 hours to recover from. Believe me, I'm alright. All it takes is something sudden to come up, which gets your concentration back.
So what's the big deal then? Are we gonna get revenge on that Dash 9?
No. That's first grade stuff. Besides, he's just talking nonsense like always. I just want to learn more about how it happened, because I don't recall experiencing track fever until the other night.
Well, I can tell you that it's less likely to happen to you all than a car driver. A buddy of mine named Kevin from the Whitehall neighborhood of Pittsburgh, which is right between Overbrook, Brentwood, Baldwin, Bethel Park, and Castle Shannon, he got a case of that too, and a close call. 6 years ago, we were driving down to Richmond to do a photo shoot at Mainmont Park for the World War II scrapbook I'm working on. When Kevin was on I-95 south of Doswell, where King's Dominion is, he got the white line fever. He started taking 2 lanes at once, and then as he unknowingly veered left without using his turn signal, he nearly got clipped by a semi-truck coming at full speed. Luckily, the driver laid on the horn, which startled Kevin, but woke him up. He told me what happened after we checked into the Hilton Garden Inn in the Innsbruck area. Then the next day at Maymont, we were setting up the tents and other gear. I told Kevin about how I avoid it. When driving a long way on the highway, you're going to see the dotted lines passing by. It's inevitable, but there are ways not to let it mess with your attention. I just look around while not doing it too much as to not focus on the road. I also make sure I'm well rested, take breaks every so often. I'd even turn the car's air on cold just to keep me awake. Because highway hypnosis can alter your judgment and slow down your reaction time, you're not even aware of what you're doing until something jolts you, whether you hit a bump or get into an accident. Now that's not to say it hasn't happened to me either. One time in May 1986, I took a few days off work and drove down to Charlotte for the Coca-Cola 600 NASCAR race. A buddy of mine, who at the time was working for PNC Financial Services, went along too. I'd insisted on leaving at night so that we could beat all the traffic, so we got on I-79 at Bridgeville around 8:15. I drove for a few hours until we hit Mount Hope, West Virginia, where the white line fever started to kick in. My friend asked if I was feeling okay, and I didn't think I was too tired. But when we hit the West Virginia Turnpike, I almost inadvertently drove off the left shoulder and into the median while rounding a curve. Thank goodness I felt the effects, then carefully got us back on the road. I knew at this point I wasn't fit to continue, so when we had a chance, we stopped at a rest area and my friend took over for the rest of the trip. We got to Charlotte by morning, and with enough time to grab a beer before the big race. And it was really quite the event. One part I remember was Bill Elliott making a quick pit stop for gas, coming at the cost of him losing the lead. Dale Earnhardt won in the end, which would be the last victory he'd get for a while.
Oh wow, so I guess it was a good thing nothing serious happened.
That's also a reason why trains need to switch crews every 12 hours.
Hey, Mr. Edwards. When you were in North Carolina, did you see Jessica Simpson dressed as Daisy Duke?
What? No! That's not even the real Daisy Duke. That was just the movie remake of the series. I did see the General Lee, though. Someone drove by with a Dodge Charger looking just like the car from the show. I think he bought it after the show ended and then restored it. I haven't got to ride it back to the driveway.
That's so cool that you rode in the General Lee.
Yeah, well here's another one for you. At a reenactment I went to a while back, I got to ride in the Andy Griffith Show sheriff car. And I'd love to ride in the car from Knight Rider, if you know that show. It's another Trans Am like the Bandits, but it's more James Bond style. I also counted 2 Trans Ams while driving I-85 home.
That's awesome!
Yep. Now let me tell you a little more. Before I became a railroader, I drove to Richmond many chances I got. I became so used to the route that it became force of habit. 88 from Library toward Finleyville, then US 43 South, join US 119 and US 40, the National Pike near Uniontown, follow it to Grantsville, Maryland, where I join I-68, follow it up to Hancock, where it joins I-70, take US 22 across the Potomac River, where I end up in West Virginia, follow it south to US 37 in Winchester, Virginia, follow that to I-81, take that to I-66 in Middletown, take that to Marshall and get on US 17, take US 15 to Warrenton, where it's the James Madison Highway, take US 17 again at Beulah, take that all the way to I-95 in Fredericksburg, and take that until I know where Richmond is. I know it backwards and forwards. When driving, I get so caught up in it that my mind tends to wander to other things. I can still see the road, but I daydream. If I get called and someone asks where I am, I wouldn't remember unless I saw a road sign. My mind continues all over the place until an event comes up like a traffic jam, getting cut off, a red light, you name it. Some focus might be lost from my surroundings, but it's usually not enough to separate my contact with reality.
Wow, that's a lot to take in, but I think we got it.
Also, it tends to happen when no other cars are close to you. Oh, another thing I do is talk with whoever else is in the car. That keeps me awake. I wouldn't want to drive from Pittsburgh all the way to Lewistown by myself. I know it's only 3 hours away, but it's a long drive. Hell, I'd even bring a stuffed bear if I had to. I know people have done that.
I believe that. Another reason the proposition of one-man crews is a bad idea.
Sir, we'll need tunes on if you want to watch it.
Record it. I'll watch it during dinner. By 9:30, Josiah, Lily, and Sean were already busy with their work orders. A couple nights later, another engine experienced the track fever.
Come on, Cameron.
But I don't want to get going. I'm tired and I'm trying to sleep.
Well, too bad. They're not gonna pay us to sit around. We got cargo to deliver.
Can you at least give me 10 minutes?
No, every minute counts. Now get your wheels moving.
Please, Kara! I just don't feel ready right now.
Well, I guess we could give you medication.
What? No! I don't want it!
Close, but not him. Jared got distracted while taking 16T from Irondale to Allentown.
Remember Christmas when the Saints beat the Steelers during 1-28? Now that route was impressive. Chattanooga, Sweetwater, Knoxville, Bristol, Abingdon, Wytheville, Christiansburg, Roanoke, all those small communities like Montgomery with the tunnel almost and Lake made famous. Charlottesville with the Curve, Elliston, Auburn, which sounds like Uncle Classic and Wabbit.
Huh? Oh dear, I was zoning out.
When we get to Allentown, let's let the cruise take pictures of the Liberty Bell Museum. Now on the subject of anteaters and African elephants.
Sharpie, let me concentrate!
Five hours after they arrived in Allentown, the next assignment was to take 11K to Kart. The chattering continued.
Jared, I think you got track fever. Josiah a week ago. Did I tell you I read Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet? Or in English.
No more caffeine for you.
They had to stop and work Conway Yard. By now, Jared had had enough.
Shut up!
Jared! That's a 250-word essay for bumping the train.
But Mr. Long, one of the trailing engines is distracting him.
I tried to ignore, but his blabbering is all I hear unless I use my brakes or my horn. Hard not to hear his nonsense. I think he drinks way too much Red Bull.
There were several cases of Red Bull in that refill. What happened?
I don't know. It was loaded earlier. Now it's completely clean.
Gee, I wonder what happened. Did they grow legs and run away? When I find Larry, I'm gonna have a talk with him.
I gotta go. Taking the Conway to Highland Valley local with 19 loads from Tidewater. For some reason, they're making me go back to Mapleton after hitting Blue Sky.
shoveling coal, trying to make some honest pay. My papa said, son, it's a good old job, just working on the railway. Up with the sun most every day, down to the railroad yard, driving those spikes and lifting ties, and fixing those railroad cars. I'm working hard.
Hey Nicholas, in case your conductor didn't tell you, the first 3 cars are for the grain silo on the mountain branch. As they used to and still do say, stand by, sir. I can't multitask. We gotta set the handbrakes on these cars first. I'm just reminding you. Do you mind? Do you mind? Okay, Tootie.
What's that a reference to?
Didn't I tell you about that old show called Car 54, Where Are You? It was a hilarious 1960s sitcom about some New York City police officers in the fictional 53rd Precinct. The main character, Gunther Tootie, would say, ooh, ooh, at least once in each episode. His actor Joey Ross would also say that in many of his other roles out of frustration of not remembering his lines. Tootie would also say, do you mind? Do you mind? And one time after taking K-52 back to Newark, Mr. Shibley saw me watching Car 54 and he said, what the heck, I haven't seen this show in years. There was a 1960s show that aired a few years after Car 54 called The Munsters. The guy who played Francis Muldoon played the dad, and the guy who played Leo Schnauzer played the grandpa. The Bingham Yardmaster also remembers Car 54. One time I said, ooh, ooh, and he said no. And I said, I didn't say anything. And he replied, you said ooh, ooh, and that's enough. There were other good black and white comedies too, like McHale's Navy. Oh, and the Andy Griffith Show too, and Mr. Ed. Huh, I remember those. Hey Ben, what's up?
I heard Josiah's talking about getting track fever. You know anything about that?
He's been mentioning it a bit recently. Some chatterbox engine talked his head off, which diverted Josiah's attention. That engine doesn't know how to hold an intelligent conversation. He just talks, and it's annoying as heck.
That's how some engines are. A similar thing actually happened to Mike in 1974.
You know, I'm a movie star. I appeared in a film called Duel featuring Dennis Weaver. But back to Thomas Jefferson, his role in the Louisiana Purchase.
Well, you shut up! You distracted our leader and he went by a red signal.
I did what? Oh no, I'm putting the brakes on. I'll radio dispatch about this.
Since then, Mike's unable to stand engines who talk non-stop.
Yep, Josiah's just talking about it because frankly, it happens a lot, but usually for a minute or if something's around to snap you out of it. It's happened to me lots of times when on the main line for hours. Crews are trained to learn the route before they officially start, And we know the routes too. I can tell you every crossing, signal, and speed limit on the Pittsburgh line. It becomes so much of a habit that we don't think about it, but that chatterbox finds Josiah's hypnosis interesting and he keeps spilling the beans about it. That engine's like a teacher giving a lecture in class, makes your mind wander. But there are many other ways to zone out, not just by chatterboxes. I'm sure Josiah would be fully engaged if the Dash 9 would at least give him a chance to reply.
I see where this is going. I haven't experienced such track fever in ages because I don't usually lead mainline freight trains. Sometimes I do locals, but only go so far. I have bad memories about South Carolina after my 2004 derailment.
Hey, even engines as old as us learn new things every day. And honestly, I didn't know much about white line fevers or track fevers until recently. I gotta bounce. See you, Benjamin.
Okay, Gordon.
Later that day, Josiah was telling Lilium all about his little experience.
Wow, Josiah, that's really something.
It sure is. That engine is even more annoying than your brother.
I personally prefer to work with other engines on trains. Whichever ones I'm good friends with keep me attentive.
Same here. Having conversations is one way to stay awake, but not when they become lectures about basically no topic at all.
I sometimes talk to Michael during my trips, but most of the time he brags about how he's usually in the lead.
I'm right in front, you know.
I mean it. For my 27 years of existence, I never pondered on the notion of white line hypnosis applying to railroads.
It's okay. We didn't find out till last year that Billy Mitchell cheated at Donkey Kong games.
That's because it wasn't discovered until last year.
I'll see you two later. Dispatch gave us a track warrant.
Josiah had to take 21T to Kansas City with Sean. Throughout the night, they tried their best to keep Josiah as focused as possible.
Hey Josiah, look at that sports car.
Huh? Oh yeah, cool. Sure is a beautiful night.
It really is. We're the only thing keeping it from being peaceful.
What do you want to do when we get back to Harrisburg?
We'll figure that out when we do.
Hey, Carrie.
Hey, Josiah, Sean. Don't know how I read your numbers so quickly, but I did.
It's good to have him back.
Josiah and Sean had an easy run, and they completed several more trips over the next few days. They brought a freight train into Highland Valley Yard.
How was your run, guys?
Really good.
I had to work with a chatterbox on the Sunset Limited yesterday. He was talking gibberish about stuff I don't care about. I told him sternly that I'd drill him if he didn't shut his trap.
You handled it perfectly, my dear.
I agree with what Gordon said about you, Emily. Also, I think I found out what's making the engine talk non-stop. He's been drinking too much Red Bull.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. But I think I know some engines he'd work perfectly with.
I'm glad we're on former Seymour tracks, but the rails down to Wilmington are not busy. Though back in the ACO and SCO days, it was a beehive. I ought to look at there last week.
You like NASCAR, Eddie? I'm a Denny Hamlin fan. I miss Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart. But there's lots of new drivers.
Shut your freaking mouth, or I'll shut it for you!
Huh, Eddie is triggered. He should learn not to complain about CSX.
For once there, Bluebird, I agree with Dave. There's nothing wrong with being a CSX engine, and Eddie doesn't know when to shut up.
Shut up, Dahlia! You don't have my respect because you're not a Seaboard unit!
Don't tell him to shut up. You talk about Seaboard like the world revolves around it.
That's where you're wrong, Mitchell. Everything other planets revolve around the sun, which is why we have day and night.
Enough!
Santa Fe was a beautiful railroad. ST-45 tattoos look great in the beacon speed.
I love books. Ever read To Kill a Mockingbird or The Odyssey?
The only books I like and care about are anything about the Santa Fe. Now stop interrupting me while I'm thinking about Santa Fe. Indiana Roads, Anniversary Assistant, 99, the Delaware Hudson, Ethan, R68, the Java Mining, and Mara Scheme on GP60M and SCP-40F, all about the Warpine schemes.
Do you not have a P5 horns? Most of my class have K5LAs.
I don't care about ATSF horns or anything anyone knows who's on the ATSF. Now shut up, it's concussion time!
SP was the best railroad in America, and SP Daylight locomotives were famous.
Daylight? Do they only work day works and not night works?
No, you must be hanging with Union Pacific engines if you're not very smart.
If I was a human, I want to graduate from Harvard University with a degree in mathematics.
Those two are really entertaining to watch.
They certainly are, Holmes.
If Mike ever found something he likes better than Southern Pacific, I would be surprised.
This is the best line ever because Conrail owned it. Conrail saved the Northeast by taking over Penn Central and others, and stupid CSX and NS had to break it up.
I guess my brother's a hero, because Conrail was bankrupt from what I heard. Remind me of how Toys R Us went out of business last year but planning a comeback.
I don't care. I wish I could get my Conrail scheme back. I can't believe all Conrail units on Class 1s are repainted. CSX and NS should know better.
Well, railroads do stuff for a reason, just like how radar detectors are illegal in Virginia.
That's it. As soon as we finish this run, I'm taking you to Altoona Works. Hopefully they pull your vocals out. Yay! Conrail!
Well, Ty, you might like it how that I'm just fine. Just had too much to drink.
Good! Then stop drinking so much Red Bull. Also, nobody wants to hear you on a tangent about stuff they don't care about. Coming from the same guy who talks nonstop about Conrail. And if you think you can do it better than I can, then you have another thing coming. Shut up, Kaiba. Conrail's the best thing that ever happened. You're despicable. I don't have time to argue with you morons. I have better ways to use my time.
Do you enjoy working for CN?
Yeah, it's great. Have you guys heard about 8 Marbles?
I know Nicholas, Caleb, Lily, Lilium, and others play it. I don't, though I'm a fan of Pokemon games.
You are? So am I. Though I haven't played any in 3 years.
When we get to Chicago, we should totally play each other.
Good idea, Momoka. Besides, aren't you going to CN after this run?
Yeah, I enjoy working here, but why should I have Canadian national letters if I'm anywhere but there?
That's a good point. Uh-oh, I ran out of stuff to talk about. Did you know I was in the private scheme before I was first built? I was growing around until 2006. Looked weird on me. Looked in the state of Confederacy after the Civil War. Speaking of which...
Let's just pretend he's not even here.
Good idea.
Back about 1825, I left Tennessee very much alive. I never would have made it through the Arkansas mud if I hadn't been riding on Tennessee stud. I had some trouble with my sweetheart's paw. One of her brothers was a fat outlaw. I sent her a letter by my Uncle Bud, and I rode away on the Tennessee stud. The Tennessee stud was long and lean, the color of the sun, and his eyes were green. He had the nerve and he had the blood, and there never was a horse like the Tennessee stud. We drifted on down into no man's land. We crossed the river called the Rio Grande. I raced my horse with a Spaniard's bold, and I won me a skin full of silver and gold. Me and a gambler couldn't agree. We got in a fight over Tennessee. We jerked our guns and he fell with a thud, and I got away on the Tennessee stud. Well, I got as lonesome as a man can be, dreaming about my girl in Tennessee. The Tennessee stud's green eyes turned blue, cause he was a dreaming of his sweetheart too. We loped across to Arkansas. I whooped her brother and I whipped her paw. I found that girl with the golden hair, and she was riding on the Tennessee mare. Now the Tennessee stud was long and lean, the color of the sun, and his eyes were green. He had the nerve and he had the blood, and there never was a horse like the Tennessee stud. Stirrup to stirrup and side by side, we crossed the mountains and the valleys wide. We came to Big Muddy and we forded the flood on the Tennessee mare and the Tennessee stud. Now we got a little baby on the cabin floor, a little horse coat laying round the door. And I love the girl with the golden hair, and the Tennessee stud loved the Tennessee mare. The Tennessee stud was long and lean, the color of the sun,